Question 1. Is the statement below true or false? King Henry VLLL created the Church of England when the Pope refused to grant him a divorce. True. To divorce his first wife, Henry needed the approval of the Pope. When the Pope refused, Henry established the Church of England. Question 2. The Bill of Rights of 1689 limited whose powers? D. The King. The Bill of Rights, 1689, confirmed the rights of Parliament and the limits of the King's power. Question 3. How did Jane Seymour die? D. Following childbirth. Jane Seymour, Henry married Jane after Anne's execution. She gave Henry the son he wanted, Edward, but she died shortly after the birth. Question 4. Which TWO developments were features of the Industrial Revolution? B. Machinery. D. Steam power. Britain was the first country to industrialize on a large scale. It happened because of the development of machinery and the use of steam power. Question 5. Which TWO developments are associated with the swinging 60s? A. Abortion law reform. D. Divorce law reform. It was also a time when social laws were liberalized, for example in relation to divorce and to abortion in England, Wales, and Scotland. Question 6. D-Day refers to what event in British history? D. On the 6th of June, 1944, Allied forces landed in Normandy. On the 6th of June, 1944, Allied forces landed in Normandy. This event is often referred to as D-Day. Question 7. Is the statement below true or false? King Henry VLLL created the Church of England when the Pope refused to grant him a divorce. True. To divorce his first wife, Henry needed the approval of the Pope. When the Pope refused, Henry established the Church of England. Question 8. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, which TWO major new industries developed? A. Automobile. B. Aviation. The traditional heavy industries such as shipbuilding were badly affected, but new industries, including the automobile and aviation industries, developed. Question 9. The term suffragettes is associated with which group of people? D. Women. They formed the women's suffrage movement and became known as suffragettes. Question 10. Henry VII established the House of Tudor. What color rose became the Tudor emblem? C. Red and white. Henry was the first king of the House of Tudor. The symbol of the House of Tudor was a red rose with a white rose inside it as a sign that the houses of York and Lancaster were now allies. Question 11. Which of these statements is correct? A. By the middle of the 15th century, the last Welsh rebellions had been defeated. By the middle of the 15th century, the last Welsh rebellions had been defeated. Question 12. Which of these statements is correct? A. By 1400 the preferred language of English court was English. By 1400, in England, official documents were being written in English, and English had become the preferred language of the royal court and parliament. Question 13. Which group of refugees settled in England before 1720? C. Huguenots. The first Jews to come to Britain since the Middle Ages settled in London in 1656. Between 1680 and 1720 many refugees called Huguenots came from France. Question 14. Is the statement below true or false? Shakespeare was a great English playwright. True. Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. He was a playwright and actor and wrote many poems and plays. Question 15. Which of these statements is correct? A. The Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in England were united under King Alfred the Great. The Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in England united under King Alfred the Great, who defeated the Vikings. Question 16. After the abolition of slavery, more than 2 million migrants came from which TWO countries to replace the freed slaves? B. China. C. India. After 1833, 2 million Indian and Chinese workers were employed to replace the freed slaves. Question 17. Is the statement below true or false? In 1833, a law abolished slavery throughout the British Empire. True. In 1807, it became illegal to trade slaves in British ships or from British ports, and in 1833 the Emancipation Act abolished slavery throughout the British Empire. Question 18. In which part of the British Empire did Boer War of 1899 to 1902 take place? D. South Africa. The Boer War of 1899 to 1902 made the discussions about the future of the empire more urgent. The British went to war in South Africa with settlers from the Netherlands called the Boers. Question 19. Which of these statements is correct? A. The Black Death brought about major changes in English society due to the number of people who died. In 1348, a disease, probably a form of plague, came to Britain. This was known as the Black Death. 1/3 of the population of England died and a similar proportion in Scotland and Wales. This was one of the worst disasters ever to strike Britain. Question 20. Which part of the UK is associated with Robert Burns, 1759–96? C. Scotland. Known in Scotland as the Bard, Robert Burns was a Scottish poet. Question 21. Which of these statements is correct? B. The Battle of Hastings is commemorated in the Bayeux Tapestry. The battle is commemorated in a great piece of embroidery, known as the Bayeux Tapestry, which can still be seen in France today. Question 22. Which TWO of the following were important 20th century inventors? A. Alan Turing. D. Tim Berners-Lee. A Turing machine is a theoretical mathematical device invented by Alan Turing, 1912–54, a British mathematician, in the 1930s. The inventor of the World Wide Web, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, 1955, is British. Question 23. Which of these statements is correct? B. Hadrian's Wall was built on the orders of the Roman Emperor Hadrian. Areas of what is now Scotland were never conquered by the Romans, and the Emperor Hadrian built a wall in the north of England to keep out the Picts, ancestors of the Scottish people. Question 24. The Union flag consists of 3 crosses. One is St. George's. Who do the other TWO crosses represent? A. St. Andrew. C. St. Patrick. The Union flag consists of 3 crosses. The cross of St. George, patron saint of England, is a red cross on a white ground. The cross of St. Andrew, patron saint of Scotland, is a diagonal white cross on a blue ground. The cross of St. Patrick, patron saint of Ireland, is a diagonal red cross on a white ground.